I remember the day they arrived as if it were yesterday. My name is Zara Havex, Senior Diplomat of the Galactic Council, and I'm recording this account as a warning to future generations about the folly of underestimating species we don't understand. The Council chamber was in its usual state of controlled chaos that morning. The Trilzan delegation was arguing with the Miraxians about trading rights in the Outer Rim, their blue tentacles waving in agitation. The High Arbiter Nova Shan sat in her crystalline throne, her iridescent scales reflecting the light of our three suns, looking thoroughly bored with the proceedings. That's when every alarm in the Citadel started blaring at once. Unauthorized vessel approaching, the security chief's voice crackled through the chamber's speakers. Unknown configuration. Wait, that's impossible. I rushed to the observation deck, along with half the council members. What we saw made my 4 hearts skip several beats. A sleek vessel, unlike anything in our database, had somehow appeared right through our defense grid. No warnings, no distortion fields, nothing. It just materialized. How did they bypass the quantum barrier? Ambassador Kree Lox of the militant Drachnid Empire demanded, his razor-sharp mandibles clicking in agitation. Our detection systems are infallible. I wanted to laugh at his choice of words. Infallible. We'd learn just how fallible we all were in the coming days. The vessel was beautiful in its simplicity. Smooth lines, no visible weapons, which should have been our first warning, and a pristine white hull that seemed to drink in the light. As we watched, a small shuttle detached from its side and headed toward our docking bay. Stop them, Kree Lox shouted. They haven't been granted permission to. Our weapons aren't responding, the security chief interrupted, panic evident in his voice. All targeting systems are. They are just gone. That's when the first transmission came through. A calm, almost amused voice filled the chamber. Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Council. We are representatives of Earth. We come in peace and request an audience. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Miraxians, with their heightened threat perception, immediately retreated to the far corners, their chromatophores flashing warning patterns. The Trilzan delegation huddled together, their collective consciousness trying to make sense of the situation. Even the usually stoic Drachnids seemed unsettled. Only High Arbiter Nova Shan maintained her composure. Grant them access, she commanded, her voice cutting through the pandemonium. Let's see what these Earthers want. I was assigned to greet them at the docking bay. As I waited, I noticed something odd. All our scanning systems were malfunctioning. Not broken, just unable to get any reading on the shuttle or its occupants. The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss and out stepped 3 figures. They looked disarmingly normal. Bipedal, symmetric features, clothed in simple but elegant white uniforms. The lead figure smiled, an expression I would later learn to fear, and spoke. Ambassador Rebecca Stone, she introduced herself, extending a hand in what I now know is a traditional Earth greeting, though I must correct our earlier introduction. We are not just representatives of Earth. We speak for the United Human Empire. The way she said it so casually sent chills down my spine. Not Earth, not humanity, but an empire. They had unified their entire species under one banner, something that none of our civilizations had ever managed. As I led them to the council chamber, I noticed how they walked confident but relaxed, like apex predators secure in their position at the top of the food chain. They didn't gawk at our advanced technology or seem impressed by the grandeur of the Citadel. In fact, they seemed almost amused. Looking back, we should have recognized these signs for what they were. But we were too set in our ways, too convinced of our own superiority. After all, we were the Galactic Council, the ultimate authority in known space. How were we to know that this unregistered species from an unmarked system would change everything we thought we knew about power? If only we had listened more carefully that day. If only we had seen past our own arrogance. But as Ambassador Stone would later say, right before everything changed, pride comes before the fall, and some falls are harder than others. The council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Stone took the center platform. Her 2 companions, introduced as technical advisor Marcus Hayes and military liaison Angela Reeves, stood slightly behind her. I noticed how they positioned themselves, perfect triangulation of the room, every exit covered. Coincidence? I think not. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, Stone began, her voice carrying effortlessly across the vast chamber. We come bearing gifts of knowledge and proposals for peaceful cooperation, she gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the air without any projectors or visible technology. Several council members gasped. Our most advanced systems required complex projection arrays, yet these humans created perfect holograms from seemingly nothing. Ambassador Krelox's mandibles twitched nervously. I saw High Arbiter Nova Shan lean forward, her scales shifting from iridescent to a deep purple, a sign of intense interest. First, allow us to introduce ourselves properly, Stone continued, as the hologram showed a stunning view of Earth and its colonies. The United Human Empire spans not just Earth, but 27 fully terraformed worlds across what you call the Dead Zone. Another shock. The Dead Zone was a vast region of space we had written off as uninhabitable due to intense radiation and gravitational distortions. The Miraxian representative, Val Nar, interrupted with a scoff. Impossible. Our best ships can't even enter the Dead Zone's outer boundary. Stone's smile reminded me of a drachnid preparing to strike. Perhaps you'd be interested in our radiation shielding technology? One of many innovations we are willing to share. The hologram shifted to display schematics that made our top scientists' neural clusters pulse with excitement. Technical advisor Hayes stepped forward, his movements precise and measured. We have also mastered gravity manipulation, faster than light travel without reliance on jump gates, and energy production that doesn't require rare minerals. Each statement was accompanied by demonstrations that defied our understanding of physics. The chamber erupted in overlapping conversations. I watched the humans carefully. They seemed to be enjoying the chaos they'd created. Military Liaison Reeves caught my eye and winked. The gesture seemed friendly, but something in it made my spine tingle. Our peace proposal is simple, Stone continued once the noise died down. We offer free sharing of select technologies, open trade routes, cultural exchange, and mutual defense agreements. In return, we ask for official recognition of human territory, including the Dead Zone, and a seat on the Council. The Council hasn't admitted a new race in over 3,000 cycles, protested Representative Yax of the Trilexan Collective. Your species hasn't even proven its longevity. True, Stone conceded. But haven't we already proven our worth? We crossed the Dead Zone, bypassed your defense systems, and showed you technologies you thought impossible, all while maintaining a peaceful approach. The implied threat wasn't lost on anyone. I noticed Military Liaison Reeves's hand brush casually against her hip, where I suddenly realized a weapon must be concealed. How had it escaped our scans? What else were they hiding? High Arbiter Nova Shan raised her ceremonial staff, calling for order. These proposals require careful consideration. Ambassador Stone, you speak of peace, yet your arrival demonstrates capabilities that could be seen as threatening. With respect, High Arbiter Stone replied, her tone perfectly balanced between deference and confidence. Isn't that true of any first contact? The question isn't whether we could be a threat, but whether we choose to be one. We choose peace. The emphasis on choice sent another shiver through the chamber. The Drachnid Empire representatives buzzed among themselves. They recognized the language of power when they heard it. We have prepared detailed documentation of our proposals, Hayes added, transmitting data packets to each council member's personal device. Again, bypassing all security protocols as if they didn't exist, including technological specifications, trade projections, and suggested cooperation frameworks. I reviewed the documents, and my hearts nearly stopped. The humans hadn't just prepared proposals, they'd analyzed each council member race's specific needs and challenges, offering solutions tailored to each civilization. They knew us, had studied us extensively, while we hadn't even known they existed. We will give you time to review everything, Stone concluded. We believe you will find our terms more than fair. Humanity extends its hand in friendship. She paused, her expression softening almost imperceptibly. We very much hope you will take it. As the human delegation departed for their assigned quarters, I noticed something that others missed. The holographic display hadn't just shown their achievements, it had shown glimpses of massive shipyards, sprawling cities under domes on hostile worlds, and orbital structures that dwarfed our largest space stations. Not once did they mention military capabilities or show weapons of war, yet every image screamed of industrial and technological might. I turned to High Arbiter Nova Shan after the chamber emptied. Your thoughts, Excellency. Her scales had shifted to a deep blue, a color I'd never seen them take before. They are either the most benevolent species we have ever encountered, she said slowly, or the most dangerous. I nodded, remembering the casual way they'd penetrated our defenses, the calculated positioning of their delegation, the carefully crafted displays of power wrapped in offers of peace. I don't believe those options are mutually exclusive, Excellency. The High Arbiter's next words would prove prophetic. Let us hope we are wise enough to recognize which aspects of humanity we are dealing with before we make a decision. We can't unmake 3 days of deliberation followed the human proposal. I watched the political maneuvering with growing dread, as ancient rivalries and entrenched interests slowly poisoned what should have been a moment of unity. The Drachnid Empire representatives were the first to raise formal objections. Ambassador Krelock stood before the council, his armor polished to an intimidating sheen. These humans expect us to believe they achieved in centuries what took us millennia. They demand a council seat when their civilization is younger than most of our members' space programs. The Miraxians, ever fearful of change, quickly allied with the Drachnids. Representative Val Nar's chromatophores flashed patterns of suspicion and contempt. Their technology violates known physics. Their claims about the dead zone must be fabrications. We cannot trust a species that appears from nowhere with impossible capabilities. I noticed Ambassador Stone watching the proceedings with an expression I couldn't quite read. She sat perfectly still, making notes on a small device, while Hayes and Reeves whispered occasionally in her ear. The humans had been invited to observe but not participate in this phase of deliberations, a traditional council protocol that suddenly seemed foolish. Arbiter Nova Shan attempted to moderate the growing opposition. Perhaps we should focus on the potential benefits. The radiation shielding technology alone could open new trade routes. This technology they haven't proven works interrupted yaks of the Trilzan Collective. They show us pretty holograms and expect us to restructure the galactic order? The collective moves that we reject their proposal and demand a full investigation of their capabilities. The motion gained immediate support. I watched in horror as centuries of bureaucratic thinking and fear of the unknown took hold. Even Nova Shan, despite her initial wisdom, began to yield to the pressure. The humans must submit to full inspection of their territories, Krelocks demanded. All their worlds, shipyards, and technology must be examined by council experts. We cannot accept their claims without verification. That was when Ambassador Stone stood up. She hadn't been given permission to speak, but somehow the simple act of her rising silenced the chamber. Honored council members, she said, her voice carrying that same dangerous calm I remembered from first contact. Are you formally rejecting our offer of peaceful cooperation? You are not recognized, Ambassador Krelock snapped. This is an internal council matter. I see Stone's smile could have frozen plasma. Then let me speak not as a petitioner, but as a representative of humanity. What you call the dead zone, we call home. What you think impossible, we achieved generations ago. We came to you as equals, offering friendship. We did not come seeking permission to exist. The chamber erupted in outrage. Guards moved forward but stopped when military liaison Reeves cleared her throat. Something in that small sound made even the battle-hardened Drachnid warriors hesitate. You dare threaten the council, Val Nar demanded, his chromatophores now flashing war patterns. Threat? No. Stone gathered her materials with deliberate slowness, merely clarity. Humanity extended its hand in peace. You chose to snap at it. Remember that choice in the days to come. Nova Shan's scales had shifted to alarm red. Ambassador Stone, surely we can continue discussions. The time for discussion has passed. High Arbiter Stone's voice carried a finality that silenced the chamber. You have made your position clear. Humanity acknowledges your response. As the human delegation headed for the exit, Stone paused at the doorway. There's an old Earth saying the stars are not afraid of the dark. She turned back, and for a moment I saw something ancient and terrible in her eyes. Perhaps you should be. They left without another word. Within an hour, their ship vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. The council, in its infinite arrogance, celebrated what they saw as a victory. They congratulated themselves on standing firm against an upstart species. Orders were drafted to begin investigation of the dead zone. Plans were made to confiscate any human technology that could be found. Only I noticed High Arbiter Nova Shan's scales had turned ash-gray, a color of deep foreboding. As the celebration continued around us, she turned to me and whispered, "We just made a terrible mistake, didn't we? I looked out at the stars visible through the council chamber's grand viewport. They seemed different now somehow, colder, more distant, as if they knew something we didn't. Yes, Excellency, I replied. I believe we just declared war on a species that gave us every chance to choose peace. The council's celebration continued late into the night. None of them realized that somewhere out there in the darkness between the stars, humanity was already moving, and we had no idea what we had awakened. The first sign came 3 days after the humans left. A Drachnid patrol fleet of 15 warships sent to probe the edge of the dead zone simply vanished. No distress signal, no debris field, no radiation trace. They were there one moment, gone the next. The communication lost, the Drachnid High Command assured everyone. They will re-establish contact soon. They never did. A week later, the Miraxian Trade Consortium reported critical failures in their navigation systems. Somehow, their most profitable shipping routes had vanished from all star charts simultaneously. Ships arrived at coordinates to find empty space where bustling trade stations should have been. I sat in emergency council sessions as reports flooded in. The Trill-Exan Collective's quantum communication network began experiencing inexplicable delays. Messages arrived scrambled or hours late, their shared consciousness, dependent on instant communication, fragmented into isolated clusters. Random technical failures, the council technicians claimed. Unrelated incidents, but I saw the pattern. We all did, though none dared speak it aloud. Then the accounts started draining. Not through theft or fraud, the credits simply ceased to exist. Trading houses that had stood for millennia found their vast fortunes reduced to numbers without meaning. The galactic economy shuddered. Ambassador Krelox burst into my office one morning, his mandibles twisted in barely controlled panic. Another fleet gone. 30 ships this time. Our best crews, our finest technology just gone. Did they find anything before disappearing, I asked, already knowing the answer. Nothing. But our long-range sensors, he paused, mandibles clicking rapidly. They detected something impossible. Stars moving. Stars don't move, I said automatically. These did. Just for a moment. Like someone was folding space itself. The council chamber, once a place of order and power, became a theater of growing hysteria. Every session brought new reports of mysterious failures, disappearances, and inexplicable phenomena. Representative Valnar's chromatophores had frozen in a pattern of terror, a biological impossibility for Miraxians. Our colony on the outer rim went silent yesterday, he reported, voice trembling. We sent ships to investigate. They found the planet exactly where it should be, but empty. Every building intact, every system operational, but not a single living being. No signs of violence, no evidence of evacuation. Everyone just gone. Arbiter Nova Shan's scales had permanently shifted to ash gray. The color of foreboding had become the color of realized fear. We should contact them, I suggested during a private session. Try to reopen negotiations. How? Nova Shan asked simply. Our quantum arrays can't find Earth. Our fastest ships can't penetrate the dead zone. We don't even know where to send a message. The next day, every artificial gravity system in the Citadel failed simultaneously. Not catastrophically, they just reduced to exactly 90% effectiveness. Precise enough to prove it was deliberate, subtle enough to remind us how helpless we were. Through it all, I remembered Ambassador Stone's words about the stars and darkness. We were beginning to understand what she meant. Humanity wasn't just in the darkness between stars, they had mastered it. Every shadow could hide their ships. Every piece of technology could be turned against us. Every empty sector of space could contain their invisible fleets. The fear spread like a virus through the council races. The proud Drachnids began traveling in groups, jumping at shadows. The Miraxians withdrew to their core worlds, abandoning centuries of expansion. The Trill-Exan retreated into isolated enclaves, their collective consciousness fractured by terror. We never saw their weapons, Krelox said during what would be our last private conversation. We never saw their fleets. We never saw anything. They just reached out across space, and his mandibles clattered in distress. What kind of power can do that? I looked out at the stars, those ancient lights that now seemed more like eyes watching us. The kind that doesn't need to show itself to win, I replied. The kind that gave us a chance to be friends and watched us choose to be enemies instead. That night, Every star visible from the citadel dimmed slightly, just for a second, like a billion eyes blinking. The message was clear: the demonstration was over. Now would come the consequences. The revelation came not with a bang, but with a message. Every screen, every holographic display, every communication device across council space activated simultaneously. Ambassador Stone's face appeared, wearing that same calm smile that haunted my nightmares. Greetings, Council races. We promise to show you what humanity is capable of. The demonstration period has concluded. Now, let us reveal what you have been too blind to see. The feeds shifted, showing real-time footage across council space. The dead zone, that vast region we'd dismissed as uninhabitable, lit up with activity. Massive structures decloaked, revealing shipyards that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Space itself seemed to unfold, exposing fleets that had been hidden in dimensional pockets beyond our comprehension. By our count, Stone continued pleasantly, we have 47,823 capital ships currently deployed across your space. They have been there since before our first contact. Every patrol you sent to investigate us flew right past them, through them, in some cases. The council chamber erupted in chaos. High Arbiter Nova Shan's scales turned pure white, a color I'd never seen on any of her species. On the main display, the footage continued mercilessly. These are our civilian installations, Stone's voice carried over the panic. The images showed vast orbital rings around transformed worlds, energy collectors that dwarfed solar systems, and transportation networks that ignored the laws of physics as we understood them. Ambassador Krelox, the mighty Drachnid warrior, fell to his knees as the next images appeared. Weapons platforms larger than moons emerged from what we had thought was empty space. Entire fleets revealed themselves in perfect formation, their hulls displaying the United Human Empire's emblem. Your combined military strength, Stone continued, represents approximately 0.3% of our total defensive capability. Your most advanced technology is roughly equivalent to what we considered outdated 3 centuries ago. The Miraxian representative Valnar's chromatophores displayed colors that shouldn't have been biologically possible. How he whispered. How did we not see? Because you didn't want to, Stone answered, though it had been a rhetorical question. You saw what you expected to see: a young, upstart species. Your arrogance blinded you to the void between the stars, where we built our empire. New images appeared, planets being moved like chess pieces, stars being carefully shifted to create navigational corridors, space itself being woven and unwoven like fabric. The ships and crews you thought vanished, safely contained in temporal stasis. The trading posts you couldn't find, temporarily phased out of sync with your reality. The empty colony, its population shifted 5 minutes into their future, watching you search for them. Through the chamber's windows, we watched as massive structures simply appeared around our sun. They had been there all along, hidden behind veils of technology we couldn't comprehend. Your weapons cannot touch us, Stone explained, almost gently. Your sensors cannot find us unless we wish to be found. Your fastest ships move like snails through molasses compared to our slowest vessels. We do not share this to boast, but to help you understand your situation. The Trill Xan collective consciousness was broadcasting pure terror on frequencies they couldn't control. The Drachnid Empire's mighty fleets hung motionless in space, surrounded by human vessels that had been there, invisible, all along. A trade agreement we offered, Stone smiled again. It wasn't a request for partnership. It was an invitation to survive. A chance to join something greater than your limited understanding of space and time. High Arbiter Nova Shan found her voice at last. Why show us this now? Because fear without understanding leads to desperate actions. We want you to understand exactly why such actions would be futile. Stone's expression softened slightly. And because hope without understanding is equally dangerous. You need to comprehend what cooperation with humanity truly means. The displays showed new images, worlds transformed from barren rocks to paradise gardens in moments, diseases cured with a wave of energy, entire species uplifted to new levels of existence. This is what we offered freely, Stone said. This is what your pride rejected. The question now becomes, what will you do with this revelation? I looked around the council chamber, at faces and forms displaying every possible variation of terror and awe. We had thought ourselves the height of civilization, the peak of technological achievement. In a single broadcast, humanity had shown us we were children playing at power we didn't understand. The stars outside seemed different now, not because they had changed, but because we finally saw what had been there all along. Humanity hadn't just surpassed us, they had lapped us so many times we couldn't even see the track anymore. Stone's final words echoed through every device in council space. You have one planetary rotation to reconsider our original offer. This time, we suggest you choose more wisely. The council's response came not from wisdom, but from pride. Ambassador Krelox, against all reason, against the desperate pleas of his fellow council members, sent the order that would be remembered as the greatest mistake in galactic history. The Drachnid Empire surrenders to no one, he declared, mandibles raised in defiance. All fleets attack the human vessels. What happened next occurred in exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds. In the first minute, every Drachnid weapon system across their 1,000-world empire simultaneously powered down, not destroyed, simply turned off, as if someone had flipped a universal switch. In the second minute, their mighty defense platforms began moving, rearranging themselves in perfect geometric patterns. The humans were playing with them like toys, demonstrating their total control. Please note, Ambassador Stone's voice echoed through space itself. We are causing no casualties, no destruction. This is not war. This is a lesson. By the third minute, the Drachnid's renowned quantum-locked armor began phasing out of existence, leaving their ships intact but defenseless. Crews found themselves unable to move, held in place by localized time dilation fields. The Miraxian fleet, attempting to retreat, discovered their engines would only move them closer to human vessels, as if space itself had been rewritten to curve according to humanity's will. During the fourth minute, the Trilixan tried to deploy their most secret weapon, a star-killing missile developed over centuries. The missile launched flew straight through its human target as if it wasn't there, and transformed into a swarm of harmless light particles. Really, Stone's voice carried a hint of amusement. A star killer? We shepherded dying suns back to life while your ancestors were learning to make fire. The fifth minute brought absolute silence across all communication channels. Then, one by one, signals returned, carrying only the sound of a human heartbeat. Steady, calm, inevitable. In the final minute, every military vessel in Council space found itself suddenly parked in perfect formation around their respective homeworlds. No damage, no casualties, just the ultimate demonstration of humanity's absolute control over space, time, and technology. The demonstration is complete, Stone announced as the sixth minute ended. 23 seconds for you to consider your next response. Choose carefully. I watched from the council chamber as the mighty civilizations of known space came to terms with their new reality. The Drachnids, who had never bowed to any force in their history, were the first to formally surrender. Their ambassadors' mandibles hung limp in submission. The Miraxians followed, their chromatophores displaying patterns of absolute submission. The Trilixan collective consciousness broadcast acceptance on all frequencies. High Arbiter Nova Shan rose from her throne, her scales now a color of dawning comprehension. Humanity, she spoke to the waiting human vessels, the Council acknowledges your power and wisdom. We accept your original terms. All of them, Stone's voice carried that same dangerous serenity. All of them, Nova Shan confirmed. A seat on the Council, recognition of your territory, and full technological cooperation. Excellent. Stone appeared in the chamber, not as a hologram, but in person, having traversed the vast distance between ships instantly. Now, let's discuss the future. A future where we all rise together rather than falling apart. Around every world in Council space, human ships began decloaking. Not warships, but construction vessels, medical ships, and terraforming platforms. They had been there all along, waiting not to destroy but to help. We could have annihilated your civilization, Stone said quietly to the assembled council. Instead, we showed you a fraction of our power without taking a single life. Remember that. This is who humanity is, not conquerors but teachers, not destroyers but builders. Looking at the construction ships already beginning their work, at the medical vessels moving to help worlds we had thought beyond saving, I finally understood. Humanity's greatest power wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their choice to use ultimate power with ultimate restraint. The swift end lasted less than 7 minutes. The rebuilding would take centuries, and humanity would be there, guiding us, teaching us, helping us grow beyond our own limitations. The stars seemed brighter somehow. Perhaps because for the first time we were truly ready to reach for them. 10 cycles have passed since the day humanity reshaped our understanding of power. I record this final entry not just as a historical document, but as a testament to how wrong we were about everything. The council chamber looks different now. Gone is the old hierarchy of raised platforms and segregated seating. We gather in a circle, each race equal under the stars. Ambassador Stone, now High Representative Stone, sits among us, not above us. The humans insisted on that change. The Drachnid Empire learned humility. Their mighty warships now serve as exploration vessels, seeking knowledge instead of conquest. Ambassador Krelox's successor speaks softly, her mandibles moving with thoughtful precision rather than aggressive clicks. The Miraxians discovered courage. With humanity's guidance, they transformed their fear of the unknown into curiosity. Their chromatophores now display patterns of wonder more often than worry. The Trilzan collective expanded their consciousness in ways they never imagined possible. Humanity showed them how to extend their shared awareness across dimensional boundaries. They touch minds with species they once thought too alien to understand. Power isn't about control, High Representative Stone told us during the first reorganization meeting. It's about responsibility. Humanity didn't achieve our advancement by dominating others, but by mastering ourselves. She was right. Every promise they made, they kept. Every world they said they would heal, they healed. Every technology they offered to share, they shared, though only as fast as we could learn to use it wisely. The Dead Zone, that vast region we once feared, has become the center of galactic civilization. Humans helped us build cities among its stars, taught us to navigate its currents, showed us how to see the beauty in what we once thought barren. Their teaching methods surprised us all. No demands for obedience, no punishment for mistakes. When the Drachnids accidentally destroyed a solar system trying to replicate human technology, humanity simply contained the damage, restored the system, and patiently explained what went wrong. Learning requires failure, they said. Growth requires mistakes. We made plenty on our own journey. But the humans speak often of their history, of times when they nearly destroyed themselves. They show us records of their wars, their struggles, their near extinctions. Not to boast of their survival, but to remind us that advancement comes from overcoming our worst instincts. Last week I watched a human child teaching a Miraxian youth how to manipulate gravity. The human child failed repeatedly, laughing each time. The Miraxian, traditionally taught to fear failure, gradually began laughing too. In that moment, I understood something profound about human nature. They find joy in imperfection, strength in vulnerability, wisdom in admitting ignorance. Everything we thought we knew about power, they proved wrong. Yesterday, High Representative Stone announced humanity's next gift to the galaxy, the ability to safely access and navigate parallel dimensions. Not because they had to share it, but because they believe everyone deserves the chance to grow. The universe is too beautiful to explore alone, she said, that now familiar smile lighting up her face, and too vast to be ruled by fear. Looking back on that first contact, on our dismissal of their peaceful overture, I'm struck by an irony that borders on cosmic comedy. We rejected them because we thought them too weak to be worthy of the council. In truth, we were too weak to recognize real strength when we saw it. Humanity's fury wasn't in their power to destroy, but in their infinite patience with those who refused to see. Their greatest weapon wasn't their technology, but their willingness to forgive. The stars look different now. Not because they have changed, but because we finally learned to see them through human eyes. Not as points of light to be conquered, but as doorways to be opened. Not as proof of our supremacy, but as reminders of how much we have yet to learn. My time as senior diplomat is ending. My successor will take up the duty of recording our journey forward. But I leave this final thought for future generations. When humanity reached out their hand in peace, we slapped it away. They responded not with destruction, but with understanding. Not with conquest, but with teaching. Not with fury, but with hope. That is true power. That is true wisdom. That is humanity. And we are all better for having learned their way of touching the stars.